Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies and citizens, this joy to the world. I bring a message of the truth amidst a world full of lies. I graduated from learning lies to seek the truth. Indoctrinated to be too blind to see the proof. I once was lost, but now I'm found, so I shine light. And everywhere I go is darkness, so I shine bright.
Shalom, shalom, and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Uncommon Ground. This is episode 16, and we apologize for the delay. We've been absent here on the airwaves for a little while. However, we are back, and we want to repay you guys for your wait by giving you a taste of what we've been experiencing for the past few weeks, all the amazing, powerful experiences we've gotten to just enjoy were such a blessing. The fellowship, and I can't say enough about it, but I am happy to be here with my good friend, my co-host. So I finally got to meet in person. Great dude, Sean Griffin.
Hey, Wes, it was good to meet you in person, and a lot of our viewers. It was great to meet them in person. We were just so happy to see so much support for the show. People that were showing up, excited to see us as well and watch our presentation. So it meant a lot to us. Like it was, we were talking about it at one point, just how surprised we were to see what kind of impact we've started to have. So. Big shout out to everyone that's watching the show. We love you guys. We thank you. And it was good to meet everyone that we got to in person.
It really was. I've had my heart moved by the comments, the support that we've gotten just through the online connection. However, there's something so special about that in-person fellowship, congregating, and just having seen all the support made it so much more real. People that we've never even necessarily talked to walking around wearing our t-shirts, and it just blew my mind. And I just want to praise God for it because it means we're making a difference. We're touching people's lives, and that's my goal with this.
Yeah, in fact, you got to baptize some people, didn't you?
I absolutely did. Yes, sir. Yeah, yes. Got to do that before the conference, actually, here at the Brazos River. Since we've been on since our last episode, I was out doing partaking and coordinating the local baptism event for the nationwide baptism that Parable of the Vineyard Ministries, Jake Grant, his ministry, and some other guys that have rallied the troops, right? We're definitely pulling some people together, and it was amazing to see how many people came out and from how far they were coming. Big shout out to Carrie and her son Justin. Huge shout out to Shannon Polk Lowe. Thank you so much to LaRue and Sue. These people just made that event so much special, and so many more I wish I could name. But that happened. Then we get to take on the world, and I was personally asked, man, the first day we walk in, I'm with Morgan, her father. Got to meet Morgan for the very first time as well. But we walked into the conference center, and the first person that stops us says to me, Wes, it's so great to meet you. Been watching you and Sean on Uncommon Ground. Will you baptize me this Sunday? And my heart just melted. So I was so thankful to Miss Lori and everybody else that took part in that as well. We'll show a couple clips and a highlight reel here in a minute.
Nice. I'm excited. Yeah, so we're going to show some clips of the event, of the conference. It was technically 3 days, but kind of 4 for a lot of the people that showed up early, and just a wonderful event. Huge facility, like the campgrounds that they had at the actual facility. What was it called? The Heartland
Retreat Center.
Yeah,
that's right, in Marengo, Ohio.
Massive. And I think that will be some of the conversation as well that Liz and Chris Bailey are going to share with us. So I'm excited. Is there anything else you'd like to announce before we bring them in?
Oh, man. I'm sure there's other people I'm forgetting that I'd love to give shout outs to, and much love. It was so wonderful meeting Colin Crockett and his wife, Dawn. We got her baptized. There's so many people, brother. Eric Rice and his wife were a huge blessing. She got baptized at that event. And I was just so grateful to the Father to see him working in so many people's lives like he was, because it was in a pretty powerful way, right? We'll see even a clip here in a little bit from the last day of that conference and some of the profound moving of the Spirit that was happening with people. And it was something so exciting to be able to have witnessed first person.
Yeah, it was beautiful and surprising. I mean, I've been to lots and lots of churches services that were all about that kind of thing. It was unexpected and a blessing to see that type of ministry being had, towards the end of the conference after all this great information is being shared and given. It seemed to turn out to a nice little balance. So yeah, we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later.
Absolutely.
So yeah, do you want to bring on the Baileys?
Yeah, good to see you in your Uncommon Ground shirt, by the way, for the first time. We got Sean in one.
Finally got.
And by the way, I plan on making a Teespring store because of how many people have been asking to get these shirts, right? That maybe not on the Patreon or haven't gotten there yet to that level. So we got to put out a way for people to get some Uncommon Ground shirts. Be looking out for that, guys.
Nice.
We want you to be able to represent. But yeah, play that clip first, if you would, the Take on the World highlight reel. And then we'll bring the Baileys in.
All right. Perform highlights? Or just
the first one, that one. Yeah, the performance is the outro.
We are here. Take on the world. 2021.
Taking on the whole world.
The whole world.
It's been a rocky road. Seen a lot of things. Flew a million miles. Sometimes on broken wings. I've learned that Photoshop can make the grass green, but in real life, it's not the way it seems. Ignorance is bliss. Lies are sweet. The truth is bitter, but it'll set you free. I lost a lot of sleep, and I even paid a fee to sit down and look up to people that's just as tall as me. I used to think I was handed a disadvantage, cause nothing I would do would end up in the way I planned it. But God can put your heart under pressure until it breaks. And when you think it's falling apart, it falls in place. I was head of my class, school of hard knocks, but I know that the pain just made me strong as an ox. I walked the stage and the graduation is finished, but I know that this is just the beginning, because I'm feeling like I'm ready to take on the world. I'm ready, I'm ready, like I'm ready to take on the world. I'm ready to take on the world. I'm not giving up, no. I'm feeling like I'm ready to take on the world. Take on the world. Yeah, I planted seeds and watched the garden grow. Congratulations, let's make a toast. It didn't happen fast. I had to wait, had to pull some weeds and find a couple snakes. Looking back at school and all my dumb mistakes, wasted time and money, credits I didn't take, and all my teachers that lied to me to my face. They said the sky's the limit, but now I'm in outer space, where the lights are so bright and the music is so loud. I hear the fans cheering, my family is so proud. But one thing I've learned about jumping out in the crowd, that those that lift you up will eventually let you down. So when everything is crazy, I'm tired and feel lazy, remember Jesus went to the cross and he died to save me. The world can be against me, hate me and try to break me, but I know that God will not forsake me.
And he gets to see the multiple layers of the firmament. Please join us tomorrow for our Uncommon Ground presentation, as we'll expound upon that.
Woo! I mean, basically, we got 12 minutes before we get to Irenaeus' statement.
Wow. So we don't have to read quite so fast.
Yeah, I was listening to it, I was like, oh, this is not good. Sound like music. Get that? Yeah.
Yeah. Backstage footage, Uncommon Ground, West Plays Music, Sean Griffin, Kingdom Contracts. We're live with a wildly unpopular. We appreciate you.
Hold the dreidel-shaped phone. Are you telling me
Menorah. What?
it's the menorah-shaped phone?
The dreidel? It's on the spirits of deceit and of Beliar, and above them are the holy ones.
Who be a liar? The liar.
That's right. Ready? 1, 2, 3. What's going on, everybody? I'm Wes Blaze, joined by my co-host.
I'm Sean Griffin.
And we are Uncommon Ground.
Check 1, 2, hello. Okay.
You have to eat it to use it.
I just try to take the definitions of the words, and if we're talking about a conversion, that's how we're using the terminology saved, then I would say that Yeshua told us to endure to the end. Hebrews 6 warns us we can fall away. But if you're talking about salvation in the sense of when you're resurrected, then yes, once resurrected, always resurrected. But I know definitely that Elon Musk gets $4 billion a year subsidized by the U.S. government to put on a show, and lots of CGI with real practical effects as well. NASA gets $20 billion a year to put on a show. They've been doing that for decades. So the world came together about 4,400 years ago to put on a show and build a tower that was going nowhere. So I don't think that the show or any amount of resources allocated to that show should be any indicator of its validity. The world is all about stealing the resources of mankind to deceive mankind. So this is why I love the fact that the coming of the Lord, 1 Enoch 52 and 54, also Revelation 22, verse 25, all the nations have to bring their wealth to Yeshua. They can't be deceiving people anymore with stuff. All the tin, soft metals, lead, gold, and silver is brought to Yeshua and is piled up in big mountains. And Enoch says it becomes like wax but more sweet, meaning it becomes worthless.
We're going to spend some time in prayer up here. We're going to hang out with the Lord, and I just encourage you guys, be bold. Arise into that presence and just be bold. There's hope and help and healing. There's restoration. God is a refuge. But He's a respecter of free will. If you don't want it, He's not going to push. That's what I love about that guy. He respects free will.
Wow. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be doing this. The Holy Spirit hijacked the service tonight. And that's not happening better than that. Before coming here, you know, those of you who attended Friday night, I told you that I felt like the Spirit was telling me my people need healing. And that's what this take on the world is all about. There may be more of that is needed than this. I guess is what I'm saying. Well, I feel like it just did. And I don't want to interrupt that. If the Spirit is still moving and people still need deliverance, then that's way more important than talking about aliens and Revelation and whatever we're going to talk about. So, I'm conflicted. I really am. I truly am, because that was amazing. That was fantastic. And if that needs to continue, then we need to continue that. Anybody else that needs healing, please come up here. Any prayer partners, please come up here. We're off book. Let's make this happen here. Come on, buddy. Let's go.
Many thanks to Miss Wildly Unpopular Morgan Cadwell for filming so many of those awesome shots. Thanks to Michael Temperato, got a lot of those great aerial views with his drone, as well as Eric Rice had his drone out there getting some of those great footage from the bird's eye view. And it was just amazing to have those memories captured. So thank each and every one of y'all that helped provide for that highlight reel.
Yeah, that was great. Those were great edits, great clips. That was awesome. So yeah, well, I had an amazing time, and let's bring on Chris and Liz and thank them for inviting us to this amazing conference.
Do it. Yes, absolutely.
Chris and Liz, can you hear us?
Can you unmute them? Or there they go. Cool.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, take us back. Take us back.
We checked.
I know, right? Shout out Paul on the plane. He gave me one of those shirts you got on too, Chris. Good guy.
I know, right? Yeah. I didn't have my Uncommon Ground shirt, so I had to represent.
All right, I know we got to get you one, and I need to take on the world shirt because I want to represent that as well. I already want to promote for next year. Anybody that's watching that missed out on this experience and was already blessed by just seeing the joy that we had and the fellowship we got to share with that, look out for next year. I know we don't have a lot of details yet, but I can't recommend this conference more. I was invited to come out to it by Chris and Liz 2 years ago, and things didn't add up to where I can make it. We had to do the online conference last year, a virtual one. I was blessed to be a part of that, but this was a whole nother level. And thank y'all so much. I praise God for what y'all are doing. And I want to hear more about y'all's experience with it.
Well, we are so glad that both of you were finally able to join. This was a fantastic year. Truly, coming off of the virtual of 2020, we were sort of like, it's going to be a little crazy, not knowing, how this world is, and if we're going to be able to have all of our friends back and gain new ones. But the Father truly provided a way from the very beginning, and I will say we were surprised that in past years we had anywhere between 400, even our largest being 600 people in attendance. We ended up with about close to 500, and probably 60% were completely newbies. So you were amongst the new crowd, and it was just awesome. It was awesome to grow the community, to meet new friends, fellowship. That's what it's all about.
Which means if everybody came, we may have like 1,000 people, which would be way crazy. I don't know how we would manage all that.
Heartland could hold it, but we would need a whole staff to run it.
It would not make our lives very easy. The more the merrier, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I know y'all learned a lot about what to do to handle, a retreat center like that and the different stages. And it was just a good learning experience, but it came together so perfectly. Like you said, you might not have had the staff to handle much more people. The Father knew exactly what we needed for that. And each individual person's need was met spiritually and with the fellowship. And I didn't see anybody without a smile on their face at some point in time. So I would love to hear, could y'all start from the point where you got the invoice? I know, with running a conference like this, there is a sense of a financial burden because y'all are coordinating it. The Father's put it on your heart to do so. And y'all aren't people to come out here and beg. I've noticed y'all are never people to come out and just lay that burden on others. And y'all made the prices so very fair, I thought. That I just know it was such a blessing how it ended up working out for you. I saw a testimony from you the other day that I thought would really bless our audience as well, especially those that were able to make it. So y'all got that invoice, and then speak from there if you would.
Well, let me start it. So Liz meticulously worked on the numbers pretty much every day the whole year.
It was my full-time job.
Yeah, so
I'll be honest, it was.
She did that. And so we had written, when we first signed the contract for Heartland,
which was for 2020 initially.
And we had written some amendments into the contract.
Because they're a business and, they want to have a certain number, that we reach. And so we thought, well, we can definitely make it happen. We had large numbers at our previous facilities, but this was a little different in their lodging. So we thought, we're going to lay it in the Father's hands and just make it work. But COVID changed a lot of things, and we made an addendum to where we thought we didn't have to meet those same numbers. That's what the impression that we understood. But it was a little different. Once we got there, we were, greeted with all the information that we needed to run everything, but then also an invoice.
Yeah. So we thought we were like, hey, we're going to break even. This is going to be great. Because typically, take on a world, we lose, we break even, we've never, this isn't for profit, as much as our haters out there that probably may be watching, maybe not, but as much as they want to paint this picture that we're rolling in money, it is nothing but stress from the minute that we decide and get the calling that we're supposed to do this to the day that it's over. So and we're okay with that because we just want to, if that's what we're called to do is be servants, then
it's all for him.
That's
why we do it.
And it's not that doesn't make it easy. It doesn't make it easy. That doesn't make it stressful. That doesn't mean that you don't want to quit and just say, forget it. Let's just move on. So, financially, we thought, hey, this year we'll be okay, with all the things.
We don't have to hit such, the high number that they wanted. We're good. Yeah. But then the invoice that they gave us was not that. It
and it comes on
much higher number.
And it comes on Thursday.
It comes on Thursday, right at the start. When I saw it, I had a little mini heart attack on the inside, and I thought, I can't tell Chris. This is going to just ruin it for it.
And probably 20 minutes later, she told me.
No. I at least held it in for a few hours. But then I just couldn't hold it anymore.
It was looming over your heads the entire time, I gathered, for sure.
Completely.
Yeah, completely. So, but that was that moment where he tells us to trust him and maybe we didn't listen. Maybe I didn't listen. And that was testing that he tells us, and he gives us, because he tests us. He tests our faith. And, you know, to be honest with you, our faith was a little bit shaken, because that would have been, I'm not for a pity party. You know, we walked away from a job that we've had for now going on, 12 years. And
the week before. So we walked away from that. So we're jobless in a sense. And so, I think that was part of the reason. I think when we had that initial shock of going, oh my goodness, we don't have thousands of extra dollars
in our
Take
faith,
on the World account.
Yeah, so our faith was tested, and I think he gave us many opportunities throughout the weekend to regain that. And we just ended up doing what we were supposed to do, just be servant. But by the time
we called on a few of our close prayer team members, told them, please be in prayer. We have to find a middle ground. We have to work this out. Just pray.
But to be honest with you, it was that moment that changed it all. Because we had the meeting set up for Monday, when the conference is over, and we were going to get this straightened out. And, we were going to go through all the things that we had on our side. And then Sunday comes, and as you just showed in that video, what happened Sunday was the changing of hearts for everybody. And, especially for me, I was going, who cares? Money is money. It means nothing. It's, frankly, it's just, it really means absolutely nothing. Well, of course, we live in this world. We have to make money to survive and do these things. But you make money, you lose money. It's that Babylonian money system that we have to deal in. And so at that moment, it was like, just even on the first, thing when Dirk did his, video, and the deliverance started happening and occurring, which we could talk a little bit more about in a second. But that was the moment when it was like, who cares what happens? Who really cares? And this is, we're built, we just get to be a part of kingdom work for just a snippet of time. And if that's not humbling to you, and that doesn't make you forget about all the issues, all the things, and go, there's a bigger picture that we're being blessed to be a part of. So who cares? So going into that meeting, for me, I was already at the place of whatever happens, happens. And if they're going to go and try to get us with more, great. He'll provide,
Well, Chris fell asleep. I was up till almost 3 a.m, reworking all of my sheets with all the changes that we had and the people that came.
Now, in fairness, I laid down looking through the phone to find the pictures of our contract. And then I fell asleep. Because it was 3 o'clock in the morning. So
you guys
we went into...
So are you guys saying that the Heartland Retreat Center, they changed the contract the weekend of to add more price to the contract?
No,
they didn't change it. We had a misunderstanding addendum that we signed in 2021.
Yeah, we wrote into the contract all the different things that we said, hey, these are the things we're going to be liable for. If you go ahead and accept this contract, then we assume you accept this contract. And I think that was the moment that they, right in the meeting, they go, well, I don't think we signed off on it. And they're looking at all of our changes and going, oh yeah, we do see that. We do see that. I don't even know if they even looked at those things. They just filed them away and walked away from them. It must have been because they didn't have a clue.
Yeah, they filed it away, but then they went back from the original setup, which, we signed off in 2019, which was to have, X number of people staying in the dorms, X number of people staying in the campsite and RV. And so, we sort of started off our Monday morning meeting exhausted and, trying to work through the numbers. I opened up Google spreadsheets that I'm working on all year long, and I said, here, I am including you on this. I want to be upfront and honest. You see everything that we have. You see, you know, all that was purchased for dorms and lodging and food. You know, this is what we have. And so we started to work through all of that, changed up a few different areas of rentals.
Yeah, but to go back to that, you know, so my heart was already in this good place. And I told Liz, you know, we don't need to worry about this. But I did not realize, and I saw him up there, the guy who was running Heartland, the whole conference, was in the back of the room when Rob Skiba started his talk, and led right into the next stage of the prayer and deliverance opportunity that we had. He was moved by that, and that's when his heart truly changed. To say, we've just got to work this out. This is what this place was built for.
Right.
It wasn't built just to make money. It wasn't built to do this. It was built to do his work. And I think that was the real changing point.
It was,
Yeah.
you know, just like what you saw in the video, their slogan is what happens here changes the world. And even though they do amazing things there, they have family camps, homeschool camps, you know, this, that, and the other for pastoral conferences. They do great things there. And, but he goes, this is what we need more of. This is what is going to change the world. And it doesn't matter, you know, that we're talking, you know, pennies here. This is kingdom work. This is changing people's lives entirely.
Yeah, and big shout out to them. Hopefully they're not watching, but they got flat smacked the whole time because it was in their face. It was everywhere. You know, they got to see people walking around with tassels, and they got to see all this stuff. So
get to hear me
was,
talking about
you know,
Yeshua and sacrifices in heaven.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know, they got to see so much, and I'll tell you, they, you know, Tony Stover asked them, "Is this the weirdest group you've ever had?" And he looked at it and said, "I don't know how to answer that." And he goes, "Well, no, you could be honest." He goes, "Oh yeah, of course." You know, so
yes.
So you know, hey,
So I'm guessing,
you know,
the owner of the retreat. I'm sorry, guys. There must be a little delay.
No, go for it. Yeah.
So the owner of the retreat center, he was a believer, but I guess you're saying he's kind of more of like a mainstream church believer, kind of unfamiliar with some of the peripheral topics or some of the fundamental topics like Torah that are discussed at the conference.
Yeah, they are
Assemblies of God.
They're AOG. So you know, they're not unaccustomed to, you know, the prayer deliverance stuff. They're not really to that, but all these other things for sure. You know, we're probably the first camp that, you know, that was there, that was, you know, dietary, you know, biblically clean.
Yes.
You know,
that was a big thing.
So, yeah, I mean, but it was no fight. It wasn't like an issue.
No,
but it was, you know, we were the first group.
They were actually shocked. The food director came up and he's like, "I have never had a group go through so much salad so fast."
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, everybody tried to eat as healthy as they could. So big shout out to all the attendees. So yeah, it was, you know, so that, you know, what happened in that conference meeting. You know, we were all crying.
Well, you started to share some of the testimonies that had already come in from various people, and that's when I didn't know, but you knew because you saw Lonnie, the director, and he said, I was sitting up there and I was able to witness it, and you know, that was just absolutely incredible. So after, you know, we go through sharing all these different stories. I mean, I'm bawling because this is the first I've heard of any of it. I was with the kids and the teens pretty much the entire time, so I missed out on a lot of it. I can't wait to watch the replays.
Yeah, I mean,
I was bawling. Chris is in tears. The director and his co-director, and they were all wiping tears. I mean, it was incredible. Truly.
You know, we do. You know, with Take on the World, this is really the first year that we've. Not that we haven't had baptisms, not that we haven't had, you know, opportunity for prayer, not that, look, I mean, we had a demon being slain on the ground, you know, at this conference, but we had that happen in 2018. So it's not that we haven't had these things, but something was different about this year. And what occurred and what happened, Chad Schaefer, he got one of our speakers, he got to have an opportunity after Dirt's video, which was called The Suicide Note, and the song's called Slide. And she had been contemplating ending her life, and
a 15-year-old girl.
15-year-old girl.
Was in the teen program came up.
And I mean, if that's all we were there to do, I mean, it was all, it was all worth it. And we had the slaying on the ground, which took like an hour. And that woman reached out to us and just was so thankful for that opportunity, because I don't think she would have gone forth if that opportunity wasn't given. And I had this thought. It was Dirt said about a week in a video recently, but Dirt's kind of loopy. Don't mean, I'm not saying loopy, but because this actually happened like in July, and he's like, this was, so it was more than a week. It was like the very first part of July, and I had this thought of Tom Dunn doing his presentation, Dirt coming on, sharing that video. And I told him, it's time for you to share this video, because it's, he's been holding on to it for like 5+ years. He's been wanting to release this album. And I said, this is that opportunity for people that are dealing with depression, just the depths of loss that is leading them to want to end everything. And even as believers, we may find ourselves in that hole at times. And so I said, this is that opportunity for people to come up and get prayer, healing, deliverance. And he said, they all said, let's do this. And I had that, I'm not saying it's a vision, but I had this overwhelming when I had that, to call Tom and call Dirt right away and say, you guys are the one that are supposed to lead this and supposed to do this and kick this off. And little did I know, Rob Skiba was going to be the guy to do it later. If you guys don't know, Rob Skiba did that type of ministry for 15 years, where he led people in prayer, healing, and deliverance in his former ministry years. And he told me, when this was happening, is that I need to go back to this. I'm going to go back to this. So not that what he's doing is wrong. It's just that that all of us need to be going that next step, doing those other things. I mean, we've all learned things, new theology, better theology. We're learning more every day, but we can't forget those basics on, leading people and helping them in their journey and in their walk. And a lot of times it's not theology.
No, because we're all broken people. We're all broken people in need of healing. And that, I think, was truly a sense of Take on the World 21. Little did we know, the Spirit just totally took the agenda that we had and shook it up and made it was supposed to be. We wanted this year to be Arise and Equip, but really it was Arise, get healed, and then get equipped is truly what happened.
And I think, with the Arise and the Equip, we can't be vessels for him and actually do things. Us, you guys, any of us, if we're still holding on and clinging on to stuff, and even though things may come and go in our lives, I think this is the year that we've, we're taking it to that next step of, just getting people to be ready for this battle, because this world is crazy. And, we're all sitting there thinking we could take it on with all these things that we have. And yet, we come to Torah, and we just bring all of our addictions with us. We've changed our theology. We graft into Israel. We've, churchianity behind. and yet we leave prayer, healing, deliverance, a relationship. So it's time to start that harmonization back with better theology, better, those things that are good that we're learning and walking in his feast and understanding that role. But yet there's so much that we've thrown away. So many people came up to us and go to, tour events. Not that we promote ours as a tour event, when we're, because we're just a Bible conference that talks about things that nobody wants to touch, especially churches with a 10-foot pole. And, many people said, I have not had this opportunity walking in tour for the last 5 years for somebody to pray over me, to be healed, to be delivered from the afflictions that I've had. And, these things don't happen. Spiritual warfare becomes taboo. Certain things become taboo, and they walk away. And we're to worship him in spirit and in truth. We've come to truth, but we've just thrown out walking in the spirit and allowing that spirit to work and move. So especially with the gifts of the spirit, so yeah, it was a wild year. Let's put
it was, and ultimately, to wrap up that story with the directors, through our tears, we were able to come to a compromise and work everything out, and it was an absolute miracle. I mean, truly a miracle. It saved us thousands of dollars. So we just we give it all to him.
Yeah, what ultimately happened was, we went in the red, looking to break even, and they ended up handing us our deposit money. They forgot completely about all the deposit money we gave it to them. So, which ended up, covering a lot of other things that we had. So, but that was a blessing. And, they did send us an email afterwards, and they said, hey, hopefully we look forward in the future, that we can fill your needs in the future. So I don't know what that really means, if we're welcome back or not.
We hope so.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it to me. It does. Guys, I know for the sake of time, we're running short on it, but I just want to thank y'all. I thank God for each of you and the work that y'all put into that, the stress that you had to undergo, the tests of your faith. I know that it was encouraging for you guys to see that even in those moments of despair, of feeling like you're at a loss, feeling like you don't know where your next, affirmation is going to come from. You stayed the course, and you guys continue to, man, Chris was just riding his bike around with such a smile on his face. It was so much of the time. I enjoyed just seeing that you guys were still able to enjoy yourselves to a certain extent, and y'all provided an opportunity, coordinated. I know the Father provided it, but y'all helped him to where so many people got to meet each other for the first time, get in contact, have that joy of the powerful experience that it so much was. And I just can't thank you guys enough. And I look forward to the next one. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank y'all for letting me get on stage and perform too.
Yeah. And
wait till everybody sees that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. What were you going to say, Sean?
Chris, if you can hear us, someone in the audience is asking to see your shirt one last time.
It says, not real.
It is not real. We checked. This is Paul on the Plains shirt. Although Paul on the Plane is really no longer, so he's Paul Lemberg now. But
reach out to him. He
was passing these out. So
yeah, he was.
Hey, and by the way, if you guys are seeing us, this is not our location. So so don't think that we got super rich from the conference and we got this old vintage place now. So this is my parents' pad. But so just wanted to let you guys know that. So, and if big shout out to everybody who's over at Take on the World TV. I want to make sure to get that in there quickly. We're going to be kicking off a lot of shows. We're going to have these guys on for a flat-out insight episode over on Take on the World TV. That's still, unfortunately, still over on YouTube. Maybe one day it'll be on a new platform, but I think Sean's got to get that done first. So, but for now, we're still on that YouTube thing, Take on the World TV. And, yeah, you guys go check out those presentations that Sean did, the performance Wes did, and then you guys are about to watch Uncommon Ground right now. So I'm so excited for that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great intro. Good segue, because we will be showing the presentation that we put forth there. We've had it on, early access for the Patreon supporters, but we figured 5-6 days, I think, is all it was up. We figured that was long enough, and we wanted to give everybody a taste of what we were able to present there. It's a good recap of a lot of stuff we've put forth so far, and some stuff that we haven't even gotten to dig into yet, right? But we're going to touch on some of those, do a quick general overview of some of those concepts. And you guys are welcome to hang out, stick around and check it out if you'd like to. Otherwise, it'll be up online for you guys to see publicly as well. But Chris and Liz, I love you guys. Thank y'all.
Yeah.
Thank you for everything you do.
So much.
I look forward to helping you guys however I can next year.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Sean. Thank you, Wes. Thank you guys so much.
Much love.
All right, guys.
All right. Shalom, fellas.
Shalom. May God bless them. And you guys keep in mind, if anybody would be interested in helping to maybe start up some sort of support, GoFundMe or something of the sort, so that we can get Chris and Liz some more help for next year. That would be my heartstream for helping their ministry, because I think they deserve it, because just experiencing what we did at that conference changes lives, and that was the goal of the retreat center, like they said. And they're really about shining light through the darkness, right, is one of their catchphrases for the Take on the World. And they exhibited that, absolutely exuded the fruits of the Spirit there. So
yeah,
we bless them.
Yeah, in fact, when he was talking about the different ways that the Spirit did move at the conference, some of the gifts of the Spirit that were being poured out for ministry's sake, it just reminds me, and he was juxtaposing that with the idea that many of the reasons people have discovered some of these speakers at the conference is because they come into ideas they don't get taught at church, right? So they're learning new ideas, but then they realize some of them have stepped away from traditional churches, and now they're doing home fellowships or they're doing online fellowships because they realize some of the churches aren't teaching what they wanted. But then they stepped into a place where they're learning new and better, more sound theology, but not getting some of that physical interaction. And it reminded me of what Yeshua said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works, not so that they may hear your new theology, but so they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So that's what I think Chris was excited to see happening at this conference, and I was glad that it happened.
Hallelujah. Me too. So I just want to encourage other believers, people that are seeing these things and feel inspired. You feel encouraged to see believers acting in their community and helping to coordinate fellowship like that. If that is something you feel is being put on your heart, answer the call. I have in many ways in recent times, not to boast, but it was put on my heart to put a fellowship together to answer the call when somebody asked me to do a baptism, to come to a conference when somebody asked me to perform. And every step of the way, the Father has had his hand on it, undoubtedly. And I was tremendously blessed. I watched others be tremendously blessed. I was able to be a conduit to help others become, so blessed like that. I just want to encourage other people to also heed the call and take the action. Faith without works is dead, like James tells us. So make it a reality. We can pull people together and we can have joy in sharing. I got to say, man, there was some people at that conference that I've personally engaged in some debates back and forth with, some debates that were a little heated at times before. But when we were there looking at each other in the eyes, it was all smiles and love and understanding and agreement and good times. Praise to the Father.
I shared the stage with people that disagree with some things that we teach.
You absolutely did.
You know what I'm saying? But everyone was loving and peaceful too. They realized the weightier matters when we're in person. And that's unfortunately, that's the thing that people miss on social media, is that, that personal interaction where sometimes the little disagreements, the little misunderstandings from something being poorly worded in a comment or a post, all that gets thrown aside and you can communicate easier. It was these functions serve a wonderful purpose for the body.
They do. Absolutely. Even if your function is just to start up an online ministry, if you have it on your heart to put a video, you got a teaching you'd like to help people, all I'd suggest is get rooted in the word first, know your stuff so that you can accurately and effectively relay the word to the world, right? So much love to everybody. Thank y'all for who made it out. Those who weren't able to make it out, we missed you. We love you. And we thank you for your support otherwise. And so many people, contributions helped us to make that a reality as well. I want to thank Lisa Mendez, Eric Rice, and several people that just came out of their way, out of their pocket to help me make that a reality when I wasn't able to. So thank you guys.
Yep. awesome.
Absolutely. But otherwise, we have a couple other things on the agenda tonight, and one of those, like I was saying, is that that Patreon early access that we've had, available for 5 or 6 days. If you've been a Patreon supporter, you missed it, no worries. We want to show it to you guys live today. We'll go over live the pre-recorded presentation right.
All right, I'll cue it up. Here we go.
Fantastic. Enjoy.
I'm feeling like I'm ready to take on the world. I'm ready. I'm feeling like I'm ready to take on the world.
You don't say uncommon, you say ground. Uncommon. Uncommon. Glad to have you guys here. Thank y'all for joining us. Welcome, everybody. I'm Wes Blaze of Wes Blaze Music, joined here by my co-host,
Sean Griffin. Welcome.
Together we do a show Wednesday nights, Uncommon Ground. Y'all check us out on my channel, Wes Blaze Music, Wes Blaze MUZIK, Wednesday nights. We do that show, and we look forward to getting back to it when we get back from this conference. It's been an excellent time. Glad to see everybody joined us. But otherwise, our theme of our show is that we like to show the individual aspects and each component of the overall creation model that God created for us to live in, and how each one of those components relate to his overall plan of salvation for mankind. And man, the more I think about this stuff, really looking back at it from a third-party perspective, you really kind of see and get a feel for this whole picture that nobody really talks about. This whole, the creation as a whole is just mind-blowing. And once you can really see each piece of it, that people aren't really just presenting very often. So we want to do that for you guys today. Hopefully get a taste of it for you. And we'll be getting into it more in the Uncommon Ground show, but hopefully you guys enjoyed the presentation. Let's go ahead and kick it off.
All right. Basically, we want to remind everybody, a quick preface at the beginning of this presentation, that we have a structure that the Father has described to us. How many firmaments are there, guys? Does anyone know? Raise your hand if you think there's a firmament above you. Okay? Raise your other hand if you think there's more than one firmament above you. Okay. Now, since you're already praising God, just go ahead and praise God. We know that Judaism teaches there are 3 heavens. That's Judaism. That's the group of people that rejected our Messiah and the Father. So we've done some digging. We found out there might be more to the story, and that's what we wanted to present to you right here. We actually have on screen, this is the definition of rakia in the Hebrew, stereoma in the Greek, translated into the Latin later as firmamenta. This is this concept of the vault of heaven understood as a solid dome and as a firmament. This is what is being described to us when we read passages like this.
Literal physical structure. So Genesis 1:6-8, as I'm sure many have read before, God said, "Let there be a firmament between the waters to separate the waters from the waters." So God made the firmament and separated the waters beneath it from the waters above, and it was so. And God called that firmament heaven. So all too often we're taught of this concept of a wispy ghostland, ethereal kind of realm in a different dimension or galaxy that represents heaven or some sort, but God made a literal physical structure that would just show the definition for it, and he called that heaven. Blew my mind.
2 Peter 21:4-6 also follows up saying, "O you that have made the earth, hear me, that you fixed the firmament by the word. You've made firm the heights of the heaven." Now we have working definitions for this word heaven. We also now have descriptors. It's made firm by the Spirit that you be called from the beginning of the world, that which did not yet exist, and they obey you. You that have commanded the air by your nod, and have seen those things which are to be as those things which you are doing. You that rule with great thought the hosts that stand before you. Also the countless holy beings which you did make from the beginning of flame and fire, which stand around your throne. You rule with indignation.
Interesting. Yeah, we see this mirrored here in Proverbs, that it says the skies were made firm. And then, it's talking about the holy beings made from the beginning as well. So we'll see a verse that elaborates on that. But you have a really good analogy that you use when a builder builds a house. Would you share that?
Yeah, I always just try to remind folks that the Father, he has this material he calls the firmament. And then he called that material, after he finished his process of using that material, he called it heaven. So similarly, we in our life, we go to Home Depot or through a contractor, we get steel, we get wood, we get screws and nails, we get concrete, and we put them together. Those materials we put together, and then when we are done completing that process, we step back and we say, oh, look, honey, it's our beautiful wood, steel, concrete nails. No, of course not. You look at it and you say, oh, look, it's our beautiful home.
That's right.
He stood back in the firmaments that he had made, and he said, it's heaven.
David, the name, Shemayim, right?
It's very simple. Jubilees 2:2.
That's you. Okay. Jubilees 2 says, for on the first day he created the heavens which are above, and the earth and the waters, and all the spirits which serve before him, and angels of the presence, and the angels of sanctification, and the angels of the spirit of fire, and the spirit of winds, the spirit of the clouds, darkness, snow, hail, hoarfrost, the voices of the thunder, the lightning, and the angels of the spirits of cold and of heat. All on the first day, right? It goes on to say, and of winter, and of spring, and of autumn, and of summer, and all the spirits of his creatures, which are in the heavens and on the earth.
These are angels, right?
That's correct, yeah. He created the abysses, and the darkness, eventide, and night, and the light, dawn, and day, which he has prepared in the knowledge of his heart. So from the beginning, those abysses we'll get to here shortly as well.
Then also he follows it up in verse 3 and 4 of the same verse. And thereupon we saw his works, and we praised him and lauded before him on account of all his works. For 7 great works he did on the first day, and on the second day he created the firmament in the midst of the waters, and the waters were divided on that day. That's exactly what we already read from Genesis 1:6-8. So now we have together more exposition on this idea. Day 1, he made the heavens, just like Genesis 1:1, briefly skims over the heavens and the earth are created. The unformed dirt of the earth was made in the container of water on day 1, as well as the other layers that were not made on day 2. Only one layer was made on day 2.
Directly above our heads, that one.
The other layers above that layer was made on day 1, as well as the water, as well as the unformed earth, and as well as all the spiritual beings, the angels in heaven above. So Genesis 1:1 is power-packed, but books like this weren't put in our American canon, so we've missed it all this time, right?
That's right. Yeah, we get some, references like when Job talks about how the sons of God, the angels, right?
Job 38:7.
Were there shouting for joy of creation. So we get that reference to the angels being there on the first day of creation. But Jubilees expounds for us. But Psalm 148:4 goes on to say, praise him, O highest heavens, and you waters above the heavens. So still after the flood here in David's time, waters are still there, contrary to what some teachings say that they were disappeared after the flood, but nonetheless, highest heavens, multiple plurals mentioned here as well.
Deuteronomy 10:14 is another thing, the concept here of Moses praying, behold, to the Lord your God belongs the heavens, even the highest heavens, and the earth and everything in it. So now we have differentiation of multiple heavens, obviously.
That's right. And this is just a couple of the verses we just went over are from the modern American canon that we have of the 66 books, but we get some more talked about here in the Apocalypse of Abraham, chapter 19, verse 3. And a voice came to me out of the midst of the fire, saying, Abraham, Abraham. And I answered, saying, here am I. And he said, consider the expanses which are under the firmament on which you are now placed, and see how on no single expanse is there any other than the one whom you have sought, even the one who loves you. Beautiful.
It's beautiful. And if in case you're not familiar, guys, the Apocalypse of Abraham is an ancient Armenian text. It's been passed down through various Slavic Orthodoxes in Russia and in Armenia. So it's just wasn't put in the Catholic one.
Right. And when our Messiah said, Abraham saw my day and he rejoiced.
John 18:38.
That specific moment that he's referring to is only found in that text. I'd recommend it. Beautiful.
Also in verse 27, further down in the same book and chapter, it says, he commanded that the 6th firmament should be removed from my sight, and I saw in the 5th firmament the powers of the stars, which carry out the commands laid upon them, and the elements of the earth obeyed them. So this is now, we have an inference, an indication specifically naming a 6th and a 5th. We already got the one right above our heads, right? On day 2 from Genesis 1 and Jubilees 2.
Yeah, but apparently the powers of the stars are on the 5th firmament, which would make sense to why we see stars behind the moon, behind the sun.
That's right. Nonetheless. Interesting. I never see the stars go in front of the sun.
No.
That would make sense if they're higher up in a different level of firmament. It's Testimonies, Levi, chapter 3, verse 3. This is yours.
Sure. And then the second are the hosts of the armies, second heaven, second firmament. Hosts of the armies, which are ordained for the day of judgment, to work vengeance on the spirits of deceit and of Beliar, and above them are the holy ones.
So when Yeshua talks about coming back with angels on the day of the Lord, this is where that army is stored. It's on the second layer.
The Joel 2 army.
Fascinating. The Joel 2 army, that's wild, isn't it? Huh? So this is actually a quote we've pulled and we found from a 2nd century bishop in Lyons. This was the disciple of Polycarp. If you guys aren't familiar, Polycarp was the disciple of John. Okay? This is approximately 200, between 100 and, Irenaeus is the guy's name. He was lived approximately between AD 67 and AD 160. And he was in what's now modern day Spain. It used to be called Lyons. And he was a bishop, if you will, trained under Polycarp to help new converts understand the faith. So he wrote a fun book called The Apostolic Demonstration of Preaching. And basically it's just a short cliff notes of the faith for newbies coming in.
Sure.
Which is fascinating because of what he says here. This is the information he decided to include to the newbies coming in the 2nd century AD.
He wanted you to understand the creation model.
Sure, go ahead.
So now this world is encompassed by 7 heavens, he says, in which dwell powers and angels and archangels doing service to God, the Almighty and Maker of all things, not as though he was in need, but that they may not be idle and unprofitable and ineffectual. Goes on to say, wherefore also the Spirit of God is manifold in his indwelling, and in 7 forms of service is he reckoned by the prophet Isaiah as resting on the Son of God, that is the Word in his coming as man. The Spirit of God, he says, shall rest upon him, the Spirit of wisdom and of understanding, the Spirit of counsel and of might, the Spirit of knowledge and of godliness, and the Spirit of the fear of God shall fill him. Now the heavens, which is first from above, he's talking about the 7th from us, right, the highest one, and encompasses the rest, is that of wisdom, and the 2nd from it of understanding, and the 3rd of counsel, and the 4th reckoned from above is that of might, and the 5th of knowledge, and the 6th of godliness. And the 7th firmament, now he's talking about the one directly above our heads, this firmament of ours is full of the fear of that Spirit which gives light to the heavens. For as the pattern of this, Moses received the 7-branched candlestick that shined continually in the holy place. For as a pattern of the heavens he received this service according to that which the word spake unto him, thou shalt make it according to all the pattern of the things which you have seen in the mount.
Are you saying, is he saying, the shape of the firmaments is what they patterned the candlestick in the temple over?
Hold the menorah-shaped phone, right?
That's crazy. So guys, and many of you may be familiar with the menorah, right? It looks like a bowl-shaped candle. The stick going through the bottom is the base, and it's got 7 different points of light, 7 firmaments. It's beautiful, guys. It's beautiful.
It's not very uncommon or odd considering 7 days in a week, right? There's 7 angels, there's 7 churches. It goes on and on.
There's so many.
7 seems to be one of his favorite numbers.
That's right. 7 colors in the rainbow.
2nd Ezra 6 tells us that there is 6 parts earth and a 7th water.
Guys, we want to give a big shout out to our brother Eric here. He's been helping us, as well as Nick. Nick is not here, but he's been helping us with our firmament project, and we're actually trying to build a small-scale working model of a 7-layered firmament that has a shield below. And what we want to do is we want to fill it with water as in day 1 of creation. We want to drain it to create dry land. Then we want to go through a flood process and only fill it up, 3/4 of the way, if you will. And then we want to have a New Jerusalem come down through it as well. As we're going to describe some of this in a minute as well, but that's the video you would be seeing right now.
I know. I'm so excited because I've never seen anybody do that when creating a working model of any kind, but we want to flood it, drain it, give it a kingdom, make it functional.
Yeah, maybe next year we'll have that model sitting right here for you. And then you can actually literally watch us push a button, see the flood happen, see the New Jerusalem descend, and you can actually take pictures, videos, share them with your friends and family for an easy discourse, right? An easy explanation of everything we're showing you scriptures by. You can then explain to them, look guys, all this stuff in prophecy about the coming of the kingdom, very literal, very practical within the model described in scripture. So part of that model is the basement.
right? We're living in a room with some roofs and a tomb, and that basement is that tomb, right? And so a lot of people miss out on this concept. We're often taught that, you know, upon death, most people think we either go straight to heaven or straight to this place that we've been taught about, hell. However, in modern translations, that word hell is often translated from two words, one in the Hebrew, one in the Greek. And in the Hebrew, it's Sheol. In the Greek, it's Hades. These are two words that mean the same exact thing. They're the same place, and it's a compartment, subterranean. In the definition here, we see an underworld, place to which people descend at death, the Strong's Concordance says. It goes on to say that Hades, or the world of the dead, as a subterranean retreat, including its accessories and inmates, sometimes translated as grave, hell, or pit. But it's those abysses that we saw in Jubilees 2 created on the first day. Lots of biblical diagrams and illustrations, some of them from older Bibles, many as 500 years old, that all have this similar underground underworld highlighted there in red.
This is common knowledge to the entire world, throughout every culture, throughout 99% of history.
Right.
And this is our best depiction of a beautiful little Sheol. It's an angel's garden. Guys, first Enoch explains to you that Raphael is the head angel that guards over Sheol. He's got other angels under his care, but there are actual angels. This is not a place of chaos. This is not Catholicism, guys. Catholicism is a man-made religion that has its own little ideas and traditions that has formed over time. This is what the Bible describes as a place of order that angels guard.
Definitely not purgatory either.
It's not yet. You're not
different concept. This is ritual.
Yeah. Now there's multiple compartments as described in the scriptures as far as what this place is and the function it serves. 1 Enoch 22, 1-4. There I went to another place, and he showed me in the west another great high mountain in the hard rock. And there were 4 hollow places in it, deep and very smooth. 3 of them were dark and 1 bright. And there was a fountain of water in the midst. And I said, how smooth are these hollow places? Deep and dark to view. And Raphael answered, one of the holy angels who was with me, and he said, these hollow places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble there. Yes, that all the souls of the children of men should assemble here. And these places have been made to receive them till the day of their judgment, till their appointed period, till the period appointed, till the great judgment comes upon them.
I love it. Reiterated. Yeah. 1 Enoch 22 goes on to say, I saw the spirit of the dead man making suit, and his voice went forth to heaven and made suit. And I asked Raphael, the angel who was with me, and I said unto him, the spirit which makes suit, whose is it? Whose voice goes forth and makes suit to heaven? And he answered me, saying, this is the spirit which went forth from Abel, whom his brother Cain slew. And he makes the suit against him till his seed is destroyed from the face of the earth, and his seed is annihilated from amongst the seed of men.
It goes on in the chapter to expound, and then Enoch asked the angel again, ask regarding all the hollow places, why is one separate from the other? He answered me, saying, these 3 have been made that the spirits of the dead might be separate there. And this division has been made for the spirits of the righteous, and in which there is a bright spring of water. If I could just interject, I think we got a couple of extra minutes. I just want to take about 30 seconds. Guys, when my grandfather, who was a pastor all of his life, at the age of 72, he had a stroke, went into a coma for 3 days. And when he came out of it, he claims that he saw his family who had already passed, his friends who had already passed. He said he was in a bright, pleasant place with water and beautiful land. When he saw his mother, she was young. She ran up to him, oh, my boy is here, my boy is here. Angels were everywhere, talking with the people that he saw. And his mother said, they told me you're not going to stay, but we'll see you later. So he came out of the coma after 3 days, on fire for God, preaching to the nurses. Went back to, he had retired from the church he was at. He went back to pastoring the church for another 10, 15 years after that. He went here. He wasn't in heaven above. He was in a place full of angels and people that were waiting to be resurrected. They were conscious to some degree. They were at peace. They were happy. It's called, a place of rest. So it's, the Father's already, He's prepared all things for us. He's not going to let us, go into some place where demons can tear you apart day and night, like Catholicism tries to teach you, or like that's satanic enemy nonsense trying to put fear in you to control you. The Father's created a wonderful place for us. So He knows, and even we're going to get to the unrighteous side as well. It's not what Catholicism says either. So I just want to encourage you guys real quick. And this has been made for sinners when they die and are buried in the earth, and judgment has not been executed upon them in their lifetime. Here their spirits shall be set apart in this great pain, until the great day of judgment, scourgings and the torments of the accursed forever, so that there may be retribution for their spirits.
Forever, ever?
Forever, ever? I thought like 3 times earlier. It already said they're only going to be there until the day of their appointed judgment.
That's right.
Okay, so then we understand the word Hebrew, olam, doesn't always mean eternally or forever, ever, but it does mean a long time, a long age, and it can mean eternity. Just depends on the context. As always, there's lots of words that have different applications in their context. This is one of them. This is the Hebrew word olam. Okay, so then
goes on to say, and this division has been made for the spirits of those who make their suit, who make disclosures concerning their destruction when they were slain in the days of the sinners. And this has been made for the spirits of men who shall not be righteous, but sinners who are godless. And of the lawless they shall be companions, but their spirits shall not be punished in the day of judgment, nor shall they be raised from thence. Then I blessed the Lord of God, the Lord of glory, and said, Blessed are you, Lord of righteousness, who rules over the world.
Now I thought it already told us in this chapter that they're going to be kept there until their appointed day of judgment.
Correct.
So why does this say they're not going to be raised?
Well, because their day of judgment for the lawless, the sinners, right? This is an event that only happens after the millennial reign, right? We have the first resurrection event, the blessed foundational hope of our faith, that when our Messiah returns after the tribulation at the 7th trumpet, he raises his people from the dead, from Sheol, as we are covering, and then
the unstoppable Melchizedek.
That's right, yes sir. And then at the end of the millennial reign, after the 1,000 years, there is the second resurrection, where the wicked are then thrown into the lake of fire.
This is what Paul got arrested for in Acts 24, where he claims he was preaching the resurrection of the wicked and the righteous. Because at the great white throne judgment, even all the dead in Hades are brought up. All right, so everyone that has lived and died that is considered righteous in the millennial reign, they're going to get resurrected at the end of 1,000 years, and then everyone from Adam to the end of the millennial reign that is unrighteous will be resurrected too to stand judgment before Yeshua and be thrown in the lake of fire.
That's right.
So that's 1 Enoch 22. It's a difficult passage. It's so difficult, in fact, that I don't even cover it mostly on my channel because it would require a conversation almost to exegete it and explain the ideas. Me talking about myself, it can be bland sometimes, but...
Sure. I can just say this is the earliest record we have of an introduction and an origin for this place, Sheol, and the underworld. And this is the exact setting of the parable of Lazarus and the rich man in Luke 16, when you have Lazarus in the nice place and the rich man in the not so nice place.
That's right.
But we'll go on to explain that.
He actually even says on the day the beggar died and was carried by the angels to Abraham's side. Carried by the angels to Abraham's side, not carried up to above the firmament. I know that's what the traditional church has taught us, but carried to Abraham's side, and the rich man who also died and was buried. And then I love this little intro to this passage. In Hades. This is Jesus telling this story, guys. In Hades. That's Sheol. That's the Greek word for Sheol. Where he was in torment. Wait a minute. I already said they're not being burned.
And they don't even have physical bodies.
They don't have, how do you get burned over and over again if you don't have a body? So that word in the Greek, as Eric has appropriately pointed out, it means mental anguish. Yes, it can be used for physical pain, but also used for emotional torment, emotional pain. We're going to actually read another verse that explains that in greater depth. So he cried out, Father Abraham, have mercy on me and send Lazarus to dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue. Even that right there, he says I'm in agony in this fire. Even that right there, I've always wondered, like, how does one little drop of water matter if you're in full-on bodily fire? Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Well, we understand the bright spring of water, like First Enoch just described to us, right? That's in the good side, where Abraham and this other guy is, Lazarus. So that's why the context of the story, the application of him talking back and forth, only get these descriptions of 1 Enoch 22.
That's right. Yeah, no nerve endings, right? No physical bodies at this point. So that fire, I would say, is like a proleptic sense that he knows that the lake of fire is his next destination, basically.
Yeah, and we're actually going to read a verse that talks about that. So it says, later Abraham answered and said, Child, remember that in your lifetime you received good things while Lazarus received bad things, but now he's comforted here while you're in agony. And besides all this, a great chasm has been fixed between you and us, so that even those who wish to come cannot cross from here to you, nor anyone can cross from there to us.
The righteous and the unrighteous compartments of this subterranean Sheol Hades. Job 14, verses 13 and 14 say, if only you would hide me in Sheol and conceal me until your anger has passed. If only you would appoint a time for me and then remember me when a man dies. Will he live again? All the days of my hard service I will wait until my renewal comes. So Job was a man who lived around the time of Genesis 36. That's the one of the oldest texts that we have in our modern American canons. However, he knew, even in his time, the gospel of the kingdom, that he awaits until his renewal comes, which is the resurrection, in Sheol and concealed there. I love it.
Sounds like someone taught him proper theology. Psalm 49, 7 through 11. No man can possibly redeem his brother or pay his ransom to God, for the redemption of his soul is costly. Never can payment suffice. That can you pay your way out of Sheol?
No, they even knew back then they couldn't earn their resurrection.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. I wonder if anyone tried to slap a Catholic priest in the 12th century. For the redemption of his soul is costly. It can never payment suffice, that he should live on forever and not see decay. For it is clear that wise men die, and the foolish and the senseless both perish and leave their wealth to the others. Their graves are their eternal homes, their dwellings for endless generations, even though their lands were their namesakes. But a man, despite his wealth, cannot endure. He's like the beast that perished. This is the fate of the self-confident and their followers who endorse their sayings. Selah. Like sheep, they are destined for Sheol. Death will be their shepherd. The upright will rule them in the morning. Who's upright?
Righteous.
The angels guarding Sheol.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
The upright.
Those righteous ones.
The upright govern them in Sheol. In their form will decay in Sheol, far from their lofty abode. But God will redeem my life from Sheol, for he will surely take me to himself. Even the psalmist knew. Now, we've talked about multiple compartments as Enoch introduced 4 different compartments below us, guys. One for the unrighteous, one for the righteous. There's more though, right?
That's right, yeah, there's another pit. And so Revelation 9 says that then the 5th angel, right, that 5th trumpet, when he sounds his trumpet, he saw a star that had fallen from heaven to the earth, and it was given the key to the pit of the abyss. The star, here's the angel, the star opened the pit of the abyss, and smoke rose out of it like the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke from the pit.
Is this one of those abysses that Jubilees 2:2 mentioned?
Has to be, sir. Yes, sir.
Revelation 9:11, they were ruled by a king, the angel of the abyss. What does that word angel mean, by the way?
It's a messenger, angelos.
Does it always mean a glorified angel from heaven?
No, not always.
Just want to make sure. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in his Greek it's Apollyon. So one of these compartments, one of these abysses, is actually open at the appointed time.
That's interesting. Big trumpet. After 4 worldwide cataclysmic events of trumpet judgments, that's when that Apollyon guy, who is the beast and the Antichrist, by the way, will come up out of that pit nonetheless.
Yeah, the 5th trumpet. No, sooner no later. And then there's another compartment, right?
Yeah.
This was kind of a extra dreaded, extra special bad compartment.
Yeah.
This is the place, 2 Peter 2:4. I'm sorry.
For if God did not spare the angels when they sinned, but cast them deep into Tartarus, placing them in chains of darkness to be held for judgment. That word Tartarus in most modern translations, you'll probably see hell. As we said earlier, Sheol and Hades were the words translated as hell, but in this passage it was a word called Tartarus.
Yeah, actually it's a fun exercise if you want to go through. Every time you see the word hell in the New Testament, click on it, look up it's Hebrew, right? Go into the actual Greek, the Greek of the passage, and you'll see very often it's not this generic word hell. It's either Sheol, it's either Hades or Gehenna or Tartarus. Okay? 3 different concepts. Generically given one word hell in our modern English translations oftentimes. So this is just how we dig for context. Jude 1:6 mentions the same idea about this place. The angels who did not stay within their own domain but abandoned their proper dwelling there, these he has kept in eternal chains under darkness, bound for judgment on that great day. We didn't put the slide up, but this is also spoken about in 1 Enoch chapter 10.
It is, indeed. So here's a little depiction of some light coming down, and you see some earth opening up, and some spirits of men here, souls of men being resurrected out of that. As I said earlier, blessed hope of our faith is that resurrection when our Messiah returns.
It's good. Give a little bit of a hand here for Wes and his beautiful artwork. He does so good trying to depict these things and spends so much time putting these together. If anyone's created digital images, you can understand, but he does great.
This is a painting I found online, bro. It's no big deal.
Yeah, this is not, I mean, you do so much in that regard. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, dig for it.
John 6:40, for it's my Father's will that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have eternal life, and I'll raise him up at the last day.
What day was that?
Second to last day.
No, it says the last day.
First day?
This is the last day.
Oh, the last day. All right, last day. Interesting. Isaiah.
Sure. In chapter 26, he says, your dead will live, their bodies will rise. Awake and sing, you who dwell in the dust, for your dew is like the dew of the morning, and the earth will bring forth her dead. Go, my people, into your rooms and shut your doors behind you. Hide yourselves a little while until the wrath is past. For behold, the Lord is coming out of his dwelling to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth will reveal her bloodshed and will no longer conceal her slain.
Yes, sir. The last day. What are you referring to? Is that referring to the day of the Lord, the millennial beginning?
It is. Yeah, yes, sir. You got it. That's right. The seventh trumpet after the tribulation, when he returns with the angels to uproot the wicked. This is the resurrection event. And then they're going to hide in some rooms, those many mansions that were prepared for us.
I don't know if this was the intent of your question, but it is a good point to some regard. Some people will get confused when they hear the term. It's an idiomatic phrase, last day, and it's synonymous with day of the Lord, sometimes referred to as the day in Scripture, because it begins the millennial reign. And so some people, logically, they're thinking to themselves, well, wait a minute, I mean, like, why is it called the last day? The millennial reign is 1,000 years. It's a lot more days. It's 1,000 times 365. So, like, how is that called the last day? It's clearly not the last day. And if we live forever, there should be lots of days, right? So people have this, they're trying to logically work through an idiom. It's called a phrase that references a specific event, a concept. John chapter 11, Martha also references the last day. She knows that Lazarus should be raised to eternal life on that last day.
Interesting fact that Septuagint was in Jeremiah 31.
I think it's 31, 38.
One in there,
yeah.
Yes, sir. So it actually says, whereas the Masoretic text doesn't, that the day of the Lord is actually a Passover, the wedding supper of the Lamb. You know, who would have thought?
It's interesting.
Yeah. Passes over the wrath, right?
2 Ezra 7:32 says, the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her, and so shall the dust those that dwell in silence, and the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed to them. So, again, you have to understand Sheol to understand where we get resurrected from. And I know there's probably at least 10 people right now thinking, what about Matthew 27? What about the people that got resurrected when Yeshua was resurrected? What's going on with that? Well, that's why we've tried to expound upon the difference in this type of resurrection versus getting resurrected back to your normal body. There's 10 what I call regular resurrections listed in Scripture. Jonah's included in that list, where they get resurrected back to their regular body, but they don't get that glorified body yet like Yeshua receives, that one that can fly, the one that can appear in a locked room, the one that can eat fish and just doesn't fall to the ground.
And ascend above the firmament.
Ascend above the firmaments, right? Hebrews 4:14. We don't get that glorified body until the actual moment of the first resurrection, which is what this is describing here in these verses we're reviewing.
So 1 Corinthians 15, 51 through 52, Paul says, listen, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep. That sleep is that death where you're in Sheol. But we will all be changed in an instant, in the twinkling of an eye at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. That's that resurrection.
And it sounds like it's signified by a trumpet.
It is. Yes, sir. So here's a depiction of some angels coming down with a really shiny Yeshua and some rainbows.
So wait a minute. So when we get raised, like Isaiah 26:19 talks about, the earth will give birth to departed spirits, right? We are getting changed in the twinkling of an eye, get our glorified bodies, and we're going to be going up. Is this what Paul was referring to in 1 Thessalonians 4 or 16, where he says we'll meet the Lord in the air at his coming?
That's right. Yes.
So he's coming down.
He is.
We're going up.
New Jerusalem coming behind him, slowly but surely descending through the heavens.
Now we're going to meet up with him at like 35,000 feet and then turn around and come back down with him? No, because Isaiah 26:20 says we're going to our rooms to be hidden away during the indignation of the Lord.
That's right. As we'll see here in a second, into a barn.
Here in Matthew 13:30, this is the moment of the resurrection as well, where the angels, the harvesters, let them both grow together until the harvest. At that time, I will tell the harvesters, first collect the weeds, tie them in bundles to be burned. That's the armies of Apollyon, the first and second beast, everyone being gathered for the day of the Lord, battle of Armageddon. That's the weeds, the tares. And then gather the wheat, that's the resurrected, into my barn. What's the barn? What barn?
That's those many rooms, that's that many mansions
Yeah.
you just reminded us of. And that is the New Jerusalem, the holy city, Mount Zion, the bride of the Lamb. So many synonyms.
Interesting. So is this also the idea of taking out those weeds, right? Is Matthew 13:41?
Yes, sir.
You want this one?
Yeah. So the Son of Man will send out his angels, and they will weed out of his kingdom every cause of sin and all who practice lawlessness.
That sounds good.
Future prophecy here, right? Law still in effect.
So it is important that there's a kingdom context involved in these passages, right? It's for his kingdom he's weeding out these lawless. Okay.
Correct.
Just
Yeah.
want to make
Context
sure.
creates comprehension, from what I've heard.
Someone says that. I don't know who says that. 1 Enoch 1:9 it says, and behold, he comes with 10,000 of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all the flesh of all the works of their ungodliness, which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Sounds like he's coming to do business.
He does. Isaiah 34:4, all the stars of heaven will be dissolved. The skies, or heavens in many translations, will be rolled up like a scroll, and all their stars will fall like withered leaves from the vine, like foliage from the fig tree. So a couple things here. I mentioned that this is heaven, the skies, Shemayim in Hebrew. And so if it's rolling up like a scroll, then it would have to be something physical, as we discussed, the solid structure of the firmament that was given the name heaven. And then
But don't clouds roll?
Right. Yeah. No. So this is opening up for a continent-sized kingdom to be able to come through it. But nonetheless, the stars of heaven. Some people say these are stars synonymous with angels sometimes. But are angels going to be dissolved?
That'd be a rough day for them. What do they do?
Right. No, I'd say that this is actual stars. Falling like from the fig tree.
Interesting. I just imagine like a huge dunk tank, and the stars are just sitting up there and it's selling the firmament. What in the world? Okay. Matthew 24:20-31. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, the moon will not give its light, the stars will fall from the sky. Oh, okay. It's just got some correlation here.
Yes, sir.
And the powers of the heavens will be shaken. What does that word heaven mean?
The firmament. That's the name given to the
Powers of the firmament will be shaken. Plural. Powers of the firmaments will be shaken. And at that time the Son of Man will appear in the heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. They will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and with great glory. He will send out his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they'll gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heaven to the other. Sounds like Matthew 13:30.
There's that trumpet again, yes, sir.
Yeah, interesting. And then there's what happens when you shake the roof of a house.
Well, you would think that the foundation would probably be shaken as well, right? So you got some lightnings happening, you got some earth breaking up, cities being destroyed, all this going on.
And it looks like we have this idea in Revelation 16:18. There were flashes of lightning and rumblings and peals of thunder, and a great earthquake, the likes of which has not occurred since men were upon the earth. So mighty was the great quake. The great city was split into three parts, and the cities of the nations collapsed. God remembered Babylon the Great and gave her the cup of wine of the wrath of his fury. The cities of the nations collapse. It's a small phrase tucked in here that has huge implications. The cities of the nations collapse. It's not just the cities of Judea. Yes, sir.
So the seals are happening at the same time that this is all happening. Because you already have trumpets, and you have seals. I mean, as far as the
bowls.
just the vials being poured out.
Yeah, the bulges.
So you've already had the seals. Then you've already had the trumpets. And then, are you saying they're happening synonymously, or are you saying that?
Well, some of them are happening synonymous. Some of them are happening at the same time. But from our estimation and understanding, all the bowl judgments are happening on the day of the Lord.
The day of the Lord. All the bowl at one time. It's
Yes.
One day.
Yeah.
All 7 of them.
Yeah, that's why it's called the wrath of the Lamb. It's a big bad day.
Or even just in rapid succession very quickly.
Yeah. I see what he's asking. Yeah. I don't know if they're all like together in synchronicity, dropping the bowls, but definitely all on the same day.
We're almost done. If I could ask, we save some until the questions.
We do want to have a Q&A. We just got to get through the rest of this. We're almost done. Nahum 1:5-6. You want this one?
Sure. So the mountains quake before him, as we were just reading, and we see other passages talk about the mountains melting like wax, and the hills melt away, the earth trembles at his presence, the world and all its dwellers. Who can withstand his indignation? Who can endure his burning anger? His wrath is poured out like fire, even rocks are shattered before him.
It's crazy. Isaiah 33 and Isaiah 40 also repeat this idea. Apocalypse Abraham again, chapter 34 through 8. This is going to be a similar idea, talking about 10 plagues that happen leading up to the coming last day of the coming of the Lord. It says, I tell you, it'll be like this. The first, the sorrow from the need. The second, fiery conflagrations of the cities. That means the cities are burning. The third is destruction by pestilence among the cattle. The fourth is famine of the world of their generation. The fifth among the rulers, destruction by earthquake and the sword. The sixth is an increase of hail and snow. The seventh is wild beasts will be their grave. And the eighth, pestilence and hunger will change their destruction. The ninth, execution by the sword and flight and distress. And the 10th, just like Revelation 11, thunder voices and destroying earthquakes.
That's right. That's what it says. Revelation 11:19 goes on to say, Then the temple of God in heaven was opened, and the ark of his covenant appeared in his temple, and there were flashes of lightning, and rumblings and peals of thunder, and an earthquake, and a great hailstorm.
Now, why are we going all over all these verses about the destruction of the day of the Lord and bad things happening, and why would it matter to us?
Well, we just want to kind of be able to go through the creation and what's happening as this creation is changing when our Messiah returns. What else would you say?
Yeah, I just hope people remember we've already described the structure of the creation, having multiple roofs, multiple layers of firmament above us, and if all of those are going to be shaken, I guarantee you the basement's going to be shaken, the ground floor where we are is going to be shaken. This is what Job, I think it's Job 9:7, talks about the pillars of the earth tremble at his rebuke. This is the day of the Lord, okay? All of creation is going to be shaken. And everyone will see him at his coming, as we already read, right? And they're seeing him coming down through the firmament that's going to be rolled open like a scroll, as we read from Isaiah 34:4. On this day, folks, nobody will believe you live on a ball anymore. You'll see that you've been in a room this whole time, and you'll see the room, the sunroof in that room open, and our Savior coming through.
That's right.
So there will be no globies. I can guarantee when it'll rain.
Hopefully not.
But there's some work to do once he gets here.
There's some bad guys, right? More than just the Satan character we hear about. So these are demonic spirits that perform signs and go out to all the kings of the earth to assemble them for battle on the great day of God the Almighty. Behold, I am coming like a thief in the night, right? Blessed is the one who remains awake and clothed, so that he will not go naked and let his shame be exposed. And they assemble the kings in the place that in Hebrew is called Armageddon, right? The Valley of Armageddon, the battle that happens there. We see some references to some idiomatic phrases that if you're not familiar with, awake and clothed so that they will not go naked and let his shame be exposed. Is this talking about literal nakedness and literal clothes in the sense
You mean I can't sleep naked?
That's not what this is talking about.
Oh, that's not what it's talking about.
No. Okay.
All right. No, I think it's talking about being clothed in righteousness, right?
It is.
Okay,
Yes.
like Yeshua talks about in Revelation 3:5, those who are found worthy to walk with me in the way.
They get white robes. Yes,
Nice.
sir.
2 Ezra 13:25-38, it says, this is the meaning of the vision, whereas you saw a man coming up from the midst of the sea, the same as he whom God the highest has kept a great season, by which his own self shall deliver his creature, and he shall order them that are left behind. And whereas you saw that out of his mouth there came as a blast of wind and fire and storm, and that he held neither sword nor any instrument of war, but that the rushing in of him destroyed the whole multitude that came to subdue him. This is the interpretation. Behold, the days come when the Most High will begin to deliver them that are upon the earth, and he shall come to the astonishment of them that dwell on the earth. And one shall undertake to take flight against another, one city against another, one place against another, one people against another, and one realm against another. And the time shall be when these things shall come to pass, and the signs shall appear, which I showed you before. Then shall my Son be declared, whom you saw as a man ascending. And all the people hear his voice, every man shall in their own land leave the battle they've been having against each other. And on an innumerable multitude shall be gathered together, as you saw them, willing to come and to overcome him by fighting. But he shall stand upon the top of Mount Zion.
That's Zion, the New Jerusalem. And Zion shall come, and shall be showed to all men, being prepared and built, like as thou sawest the hill graven without hands. We see that in Isaiah, 2nd Baruch as well, talks about the city that is engraved on the palm of his hand. And this, my son, will rebuke the wicked inventions of those nations, which for their wicked life are fallen into the tempest, and will lay before them their evil thoughts, and the torments wherewith they will begin to be tormented, which are like to a flame. And he will destroy them without labor by the law, which is like unto me.
Interesting.
It is.
So then their torments, their evil thoughts, the thoughts of their coming destruction, is their torment likened unto a flame. Sounds interesting. Is that what we read in Luke 16?
Yeah, it is very
interesting.
Similar.
And then the finale, right, of the story.
Firmament rolling open like a scroll, opening up. There's that Zion, New Jerusalem coming down through it.
It's going to be a big day.
Yeah.
So, where does this thing come from? Where's the origin of this thing? Right. Genesis 3:24. So he drove out the man and stationed cherubim on the east side of the Garden of Eden, along with the whirling sword of flame, to guard the way to the tree of life. Wes, why would you need to guard something that they can't get to?
Because it's still on earth, as the man Adam and Eve were, right? They're kicked out of it, and so then cherubim guarding it to keep them from going back into it while it's still on earth.
Okay. 2 Ezra 3.
2 Ezra 3, 5-6 says, and gave a body to Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of your hands, and did breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before you. And you lead him into paradise, which your right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. So that paradise word is the same thing we see in the next verse we're about to look at.
Behold, the time shall come that these tokens which I have told you shall come to pass. The bride shall appear, and coming forth shall be seen that now which is withdrawn from the earth. So if you're withdrawn from something, that means you used to be on something.
That's right.
Okay. So that you're withdrawn from it. You used to be so the bride, the garden, the paradise used to be down, but then it's withdrawn. Is that right?
That's what we're saying. Okay. So just in case you missed that, the paradise that was just referred to in the last passage, it's saying here, and it's calling it the bride, as we mentioned earlier when I was talking about the synonyms of the New Jerusalem. In Revelation 21, it says, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb. And he showed him the New Jerusalem, a literal kingdom, physical city. And that bride will appear, which is now withdrawn from the earth. So in Ezra's time, Ezra's time, the prophet, about 400 years before the first coming of Christ, it was at that time that bride, the New Jerusalem, had been withdrawn, taken away from the earth.
Did it happen 400 years before Yeshua came down?
No, it happened quite a bit earlier than that.
Is this what Paul's referencing in 2 Corinthians 12?
It is, that same paradise. So I know a man in Christ. I want to just point out, a lot of people say that it was Paul himself that was taken up to the third heaven to see paradise, except he says he knew a man in Christ who 14 years ago was caught up to the third heaven. Whether it was in the body or out of it, I don't know, but God knows. And I know that this man, whether in or out of the body, I don't know, but God knows, was caught up to paradise. Same place that Adam was taken into after he was created, the Garden of Eden. The things he heard were too sacred for words, things that man is not permitted to tell.
All right, then keep your secrets. Revelation 11:15, and the seventh angel sounded his trumpet, and my voice is called out in heaven. The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and his Christ, and he will reign forever and ever. And this is the
seventh trumpet, right?
The seventh trumpet. This is the moment that he actually sends his son, which is going to precede the city itself. But let's look at the city a little bit further. This is actually Isaiah 61:1-4. The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, proclaim liberty to the captives, freedom to the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, the day of the God's vengeance, to comfort all who mourn, to console the mourners in Zion. Now, Yeshua referenced this in Luke 4, right? We actually read from this passage, stopped midway through, shut the book. But there's more to this passage, right?
Right.
And daughter Zion is Jerusalem on the ground. Mother Zion is Jerusalem above, as Paul references in Galatians 4:26, right? So there's a inference of the promises given to Zion, and then we have to just find the context. And he goes on to say to give them a crown of beauty for ashes, that's that resurrection, oil of joy for mourning, that's that priesthood, that Melchizedek priesthood, and the garment of praise for a spirit of despair. So they will be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord. It's that fulfillment of the promise to have his Torah in your heart, that he may be glorified. They will rebuild the ancient ruins, they'll restore the places long devastated, they will renew the ruined cities, the desolations of many generations. And so the city is going to be renewed. Zion itself is going to be filled with its inhabitants that have the Torah in their heart as a kingdom of royal priests.
That's right.
And that's for a purpose. And then we have some explanation, actually, of the process, right? From the garden being taken up.
It is.
So it's coming back.
Absolutely. So Isaiah 54, 1-5, shout for joy, O barren woman who bears no children. Break forth in song and cry aloud, you who have never travailed, because more are the children of the desolate woman than of her who has a husband, says the Lord. Enlarge the place of your tent, stretch out the curtains of your dwellings, and do not hold back. Lengthen your ropes and drive your stakes in deep, for you will spread out to the right and the left. Your descendants will dispossess the nations and inhabit the desolate cities. Do not be afraid, for you will not be put to shame. Do not be intimidated, for you will not be humiliated. For you will forget the shame of your youth and will remember no more the reproach of your widowhood. For your husband is your maker, the Lord of hosts is his name. The Holy One of Israel is your Redeemer. He is called the God of all earth. So barren woman, desolate, bears no children. What do you think that's referring to?
Well, this is, Isaiah 66 hasn't happened yet, right? The nation's not been born in a day. The resurrection hasn't happened yet, so she's still barren. How is she a widow?
Because she did have
Adam.
That's right.
Was kicked out. That's right. And that's the reproach of her youth, right?
Yes.
And 2 Ezra 3:5, because it was God who made her and planted her.
Correct.
Is that right? In the beginning?
It is.
Okay, interesting. So he goes on to say, for the Lord has called you back, like a wife deserted and wounded in spirit, like the rejected wife of one's youth, says your God. For a brief moment I forsook you, but with great compassion I'll bring you back. In the surge of anger I hid my face from you for a moment, but with everlasting kindness I will have compassion on you, says the Lord your Redeemer. For to me, this is like the days of Noah, when I swore that the waters of Noah would never again cover the earth. So I've sworn that I will not be angry with you or rebuke you, though the mountains may be removed and the hills may be shaken. My love and devotion will not depart from you. My covenant of peace will not be broken, says the Lord who has compassion on you. What do you think this is saying?
It's so appropriate that he mentioned is in the days of Noah, right? So there was a flood that took place, as many of us know, and she's also called storm-tossed, this desolate woman. And for a brief moment, she's forsaken, right? And great compassion, he'll bring her back. And so this would be in reference to what we're going to discuss in the next passage. O afflicted city, storm-tossed, without solace. Surely I will set your stones in antimony and lay your foundations with sapphires. I will make your pinnacles of rubies, your gates of sparkling jewels, and all your walls of precious stones. Then all your sons will be taught by the Lord, and great will be their prosperity. In righteousness you will be established, far from oppression, for you will have no fear. Terror will be far removed, for it will not come near you. If anyone attacks you, it is not from me. Whoever assails you will fall before you. So the afflicted city, as we were just talking about, appropriate with the days of Noah, storm-tossed. We have come to the conclusion that this means during the flood is when the Garden of Eden, turned into paradise, was taken up and placed in that third heaven, as Paul tells us.
And as our brother pointed out, where Yeshua references in John 14:2 that he goes to prepare a place.
That's right.
So it has to be removed from the earth. He's going to prepare it, as we already read at the beginning of Isaiah 54. Its tent pegs are being lengthened, stretched out, enlarged. The Garden of Eden was a walled-off structure, according to the Hebrew. That's why you would put angels around it to guard it. It was on the ground until the flood, and it was retracted. And so at that point, now it's getting renovated, getting ready for everyone, all the hundreds of millions, hopefully billions of people that take part in the first resurrection, who will inhabit as its inheritance, as Revelation 21:7 explains.
Fascinating stuff.
So that's pretty much it, guys. We just want to encourage you. The 2 Ezra 2 talks that this particular kingdom, the one called Jerusalem, with the everlasting tabernacles, is the one promised to those of us in the resurrection. Same thing that we see inside the descriptions of the kingdom is the river of life and the trees of life that grow along the river, whose leaves are used for the medicine of the nations. This is introduced in Ezekiel 47:12 and repeated in Revelation 22:1 and 2. And ultimately, this is our promise, this is our wonderful home. And none of this is possible, guys, without an enclosed cosmology with multiple firmaments. None of this is possible. This whole storyline makes no sense on a ball in space. This big thing is not coming from the direction of Sigma Octurus, whatever it's called. This thing is over your head right now in the third layer of the firmament, being prepared and ready to drop at the appropriate time. And as you see on screen, the wonderful, beautiful promise, and Chris, this is our last verse here. The wonderful, beautiful promise All the nations will come to this thing during the millennial reign to learn Torah, to learn right behavior, to stop warring with each other. And they're going to encounter not just Yeshua, but also all the resurrected saints that are part of the priesthood with him to teach them righteousness, to teach them right behavior. This story of biblical cosmology assumes a difference in behavior of righteous behavior that's God's versus unrighteous behavior and wickedness. And it assumes the descriptions that he has given us systematically all throughout his word to make this story come to its fulfillment. So we thank you for your time, we thank you for listening, and I think we're about to do a big Q&A panel. I'm sure a lot of you have questions, so thank you so much.
That's right. Much love, everybody. Bless y'all, may he bless you.
I'm feeling like I'm ready to take on the world. I'm ready. I'm feeling like I'm ready to take on the world. I'm ready to take on the world. I'm not giving up.
Yeah, it was a blessing.
It surely was, man. I had some good laughs being able to rewatch some of that, and I just got to thank you, Sean. You were a blessing. It was a dream come true to get to hang out with you, and you made that experience a very enjoyable one as well.
Good, you did too, brother. It was great meeting you, and your lovely lady. It's great meeting you guys, seeing you guys together, interacting, getting that romance on, and I mean, you know, in the most PG church camp way possible.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, it was just great meeting you guys. Y'all are a blessing, and I think it's like you know, like I put in the comments there, I'm so grateful to Chris and Liz, because we know, Wes and I know, that the way we're presenting biblical cosmology, no one has ever done this. So we know that they're trusting us. At least they've learned to trust us, because apparently they've seen enough of our content to know that we're trying to be responsible with the word, and we're trying to be thorough, and we're not trying to bash people. We're trying to build people up. And we feel like if people knew how layered biblical cosmology is in the scriptures, it will build them up. I mean, they'll understand the story of the Bible better, and their Messiah better, and you know, the future of the resurrection and the kingdom that they're going to inherit better. Like, so it also helps you weed through the current modern deceptions that we're facing right now.
It absolutely does.
Big shout out to Liz and Chris that they would have us there, because having us there isn't simply just allowing us to say our message for the sake of these videos, but it's also all those other presenters that are there. They get to hear our message too. And sometimes those other presenters they have large channels. They're busy. They don't have time to come on our show yet, because, you know, we're still growing. So we felt like it was a double blessing, or at least I did. I know I did. Not just being able to see and interact with our audience and give this presentation, but also being able to get this, you know, message to some of these other presenters as well.
Yeah.
Because some of the things that we talk about in our presentation that you just watched, these other wonderful brothers and sisters, as they present concepts about biblical cosmology, they've touched on facets of that presentation, but we try to take it to its completion, and with all the details given in scripture, which is why the presentation was so long. So we're just super happy that we got a chance to share that with everybody listening, and we hope that it makes an impact. We hope that everyone was blessed by watching it.
That's my prayer as well. I concur. Well said, Sean, because we hope to share the Father's truth and to edify people's understandings, to bless their walk, so that the Father can bless their walk, I should say, so that they can have a greater just sense of understanding, really, right?
Yeah. I think Wes has been having some trouble with his internet tonight. So if he goes out, I'll just take over. We'll keep it rolling. We'll keep it moving.
To just feel like, okay, some questions. Okay, that's all right. I lost my train of thought, but all I was saying is that I just loved it. I love you guys. I love all our supporters, and I love doing what we're doing. I know we just got to show kind of a taste of what our show is all about with that general overview. We only had time for a couple verses for each act, but that's I feel like that presentation did a good job at embodying our mission statement here, right? That we want to show how each individual aspect of the creation model really ties into the overall plan of salvation, the overall story. And this story isn't over, right? We're still in biblical times. So thank everybody. Thank you, Sean. Thank God.
Yeah, and just as a quick point of note, just for my own personal vanity, guys, I wasn't hitting the weights before I got to the conference. I was swollen because when I don't get sleep, I swell up like crazy. And I was driving 3.5 days to get to the conference from where I live, and I didn't get any sleep because I was sick at the same time. So I was super swollen. So when I get sick, I swell up. And then when I don't get any sleep, if I get less than 5 hours a night, I swell up. So both of those, I was swole, but not for the right reasons. So it's just nothing but water weight.
That's all right,
so
brother.
it was hilarious. I saw that and I was like, oh my gosh, who's that guy? Oh, that's me. Oh my gosh, that doesn't look like me. But it was funny because another guy came up to me at the conference. He was like, how many days you in the gym with them guns? And I'm like, I haven't been to the gym in like a year. I'm like, I didn't want to tell him. I was just, I'm swollen because I haven't slept and I'm sick. But it was just funny that like my body reacts really weird when it comes to water retention when I don't get enough sleep. So I just get like puffy. I just stay puff marshmallow man. I just puff up. It's funny. So anyway, my wife laughs at me because she's like, did you not sleep well last night? You're super puffy today. And I'm like, yeah, it's the way it goes.
How
so
funny.
yeah, it's wild. Real quick, Wes, we haven't quite nailed down next week.
That's right. Yeah, we don't have a teaser.
Nailed down our teaser for next week.
That's
but
okay.
We do want to tell everybody to make sure to don't miss us next week. If you haven't already subscribed, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you subscribe, be notified, so when we jump on next week with our episode, you don't miss it. And other than that, I think that hopefully this is a blessing to you guys. We appreciate everyone that's our patrons. Everyone that's been supporting us through Patreon, you guys are a super blessing, helping us raise the funds that we need to complete the firmament project, and we hope to have an update on that as well next week and see what's going on with our brothers that are helping us out with that. So big shout out to Eric Rice. We got to meet him at the meeting at the conference.
It's been a big help.
Yeah, he was great. Other than that, brother, what else you got?
Oh man, I guess my takeaway from the conference is just that I can't wait for another one. Right. And I'd love for other believers, other people that have ministries to kind of find it in their hearts and in their budgets and in their lives to be able to put on more gatherings like that for people that might not be able to travel so far or whatever the case. Just I think that what we just heard, the testimony from Liz and Chris Bailey and from our own experience, the Father really blesses it when you try to make things like that happen. And when you work in his will with it. And I just encourage other people to, even if it's just a local gathering every Shabbat or whatever day you can, just to have a Bible study. That fellowship really makes a world of a difference. And the Father knows that, right? So that's why his word says, don't forsake the congregation. Mm-hmm. Something to that effect. And so it's powerful. There's absolute electricity in the air, right? When you're gathered in the Spirit, like he says, when two or more are gathered in his name, there he is. Yeah. And he sure was. Won't he do it?
Yeah, it's funny like that. When I was younger and I would go to Bible studies, when I was a brand new believer, I was impressed with, I could, I don't always talk on my channel or in any of the presentations we do. I don't always talk about my feelings all the time, right? And I'm not one of those guys that runs around trying to judge things by my feelings, right? But when I was a brand new believer, I noticed a physical difference when I would get around other believers and we would do Bible study or prayer meeting or whatever. If I'm in that room and and people are together, and then for Jesus' sake, to be there to learn the word and fellowship, I could physically feel a presence and a difference. Whether out of the Holy Spirit, maybe, right? I know there was moments in some of those prayer meetings, Holy Spirit definitely dropped, showed up, people got changed. And happened to me one time, I spent like 2 hours on the ground crying my eyes out one time for no reason.
Let me get this straight. These were people that they might have only ever used one English pronunciation of the name. These are people that didn't have perfect doctrine. You at that time probably didn't have as good a doctrine as you do now. And the power of the Spirit, right? And the power of the Spirit was still moving. Just like I told somebody recently. Yeah, they asked me recently sometime, what did I think about getting baptized, whether it's living water or just in a pool. I said, I got baptized at a mega non-denominational mega church outside, and where they had like 4 above ground swimming pools in an area.
So did I.
And the Father blessed that experience and really, honored my earnest heart with that, no matter the circumstances. And so it just goes to show he does. He will.
Yeah, this crazy dude with a year and a half old into the faith, took it upon myself to go into a psychic shop, try to witness to somebody out of the blue. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't have good theology. I didn't have some perfect pronunciation of the name. None of that stuff. It was just, I was a willing vessel. Father was trying to use me. That's all it boils down to. And so yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, Wes. Do not give up meeting with each other, guys, if you can, if you're locally in an area where you can do that, because the Father moves through us. I mean, your hands and feet of the Father, as Paul metaphorically speaks of. So that means you've got to go do things. You can't, it's hard to be a metaphor of hands and feet if you just isolate in your little house and watch TV all the time, right? Or even YouTube all the time. So we're the hands and feet. We got to get out there. We got to interact with some people. We got to, so if you do have a local fellowship you can join, be sure to try to make it a priority for yourselves. And that'll be a huge blessing to you. So
truly. Yeah, we'll nail down next week's topic. I hope to see everybody then. If you've been blessed by what we're doing, if you want to help see the Firmament project come to fruition, I hope you got to see a clip of that during the presentation. Threw in some video of it there. Otherwise, if you would, consider joining the Patreon. There's a monthly contribution available. You can do a one-time contribution, and we are putting it to great lengths to make sure that we're able to edify others with the support that we're getting. And we just hope that we continue to bless you guys, and that you bless God so that He may bless you. But otherwise, we have an outro here, a little bit of piece of some of my presentation, quick highlight reel of my performance, I should say. They asked me to get on stage and perform some of my music that I've done, and that was a joy and a blessing, a thrill. Even despite some minor technical difficulties, everybody had a great time with it. And so I hope y'all enjoy that footage. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Sean, love you, dude. Much love, guys.
You're awesome, Wes. I'll see you next week.
To introduce someone who's actually very, very special to me. Believe it or not, I actually met him for the first time in person today. But many of the people here, Sean Griffin, Rob Skiebel, I've watched you guys for years, and it's just such an honor to be here with you. So the person I'm introducing actually made me these tassels. He was instrumental in teaching the importance of them to me, and that was awesome to do. But also, one thing I want to say about him is, years ago when I first started just trying to let my biases go and say, what do you want me to do? And just looking at this world, and I'm supposed to do something about all the work of the enemy that seems so big and strong. I got to see a video by Wes Blaze. Has anyone heard of Wes here before? Wes Blaze? And it was just tough for me. In my particular situation, I was very isolated. There weren't many people seeing the things I was seeing. And when I was just scrolling to come across this video, and believe it or not, it wasn't even his video. Someone had approached him on the side of the street with a cell phone, videotaping him as he was flat smacking them big time. And it just meant a lot to me. It had such an impact on me to see the same thoughts that I have felt and my desire to honor God spoken to me. And it let me know that, hey, there's other people going through the same things, and that truly we're in this together and we are not alone. And how powerful is it that we can be strengthened by brothers and sisters in the Messiah. So that was just awesome to be a part. And so without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the one and only Wes Blaze.
This world is temporary, yes, what comes next is your after. You have the choice to do what's right or collect a disaster. Who will you be when you're standing right next to your master? I'll break it down for you one more thing though. I'm no longer worried how the diamonds in my chain glow. I don't get down with all the music on the radio, and nowadays my focus isn't stacking up a bankroll. Ain't nobody saying that this faith walk a cakewalk. Gotta shake off all that hate that they talk, and I don't sleep talk, I just make the weight walk. Cause everybody wanna be the same, gotta break off. Go ahead. Wake up.
Used to play pretend. Wake up. We build a rocket ship and then we fly it far away. We used to play pretend. Used to play pretend. Wake up. To dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face, saying, wake up, you need to wake. Wake up, you need to wake. We build a rocket ship and then we fly it far away. Saying, wake up, you need to wake. Wake up, you need to wake. Used to play pretend. Used to play pretend. Wake up. Used to dream of outer space, but now they're laughing at the face, saying, wake up, wake up.
The earth doesn't move, but the liars on wires want to take away the truth. I'm screaming.
Wake up, you need to wake. Wake up, you need to wake. Wake up, you need to wake. Need to wake, you need to wake.
How about you, Sebastian Calico? Have you woken up? Take our will and our next of kin. Living for the sun, not the S-O-N. So good morning, beautiful. Wake up, you need to wake. Wake up, you need to wake. Wake up, you need to wake. Need to wake. Need to wake.
My postcode, 6 days I'm working, but the 7th day the store closed. These days, you can hear the truth is a phenomenon. I will not be programmed, cause I'm not an automaton. Been an ensemble, like some all-white pajamas on. Kicking it here with Harlow, we get our uncommon.
Says the earth is flat and motionless, you heard it right. Word of God says the sun.
Has anybody ever told y'all that?
The earth is his footstool.
Make some noise, right?
Has anybody told you? The Bible says the earth is flat and motionless, you heard it right. The word of God says the sun.
It's like we're living in a big room with a bunch of roofs, 7 of them to be exact. And there's a basement. We'll tell you all about it on Uncommon Ground. If y'all make sure to drop by for Uncommon Ground tomorrow, it's gonna be a good show. Yeah! Woo!
Bless Yah and may he bless you.
That's right. I can't figure this out on my own. I just wanna see you when you call me home. Call me home. Don't let me go.
Debunk the globe, repeat. Eat, sleep. Debunk the globe, repeat. Eat, sleep. Debunk the globe, repeat.
Thank y'all very much. Thank you. You're right. That's the thief in the night, right? The day of the Lord is coming like a thief in the night. If you don't know, the day of the Lord is the day that our Messiah returns, the blessed hope in which we will partake in the resurrection. That is the foundational hope of our faith. That when our Messiah returns at the 7th trumpet, we will be raised from the dead into an immortal, incorruptible, glorified body made of water and spirit rather than the flesh and blood that we're made of now, where we will be sinless. We will live forever and reign in the kingdom. The New Jerusalem, y'all, literal kingdom, 1,500 square mile building made of gold and pearls. It's coming down to this earth through the 7th heavens, down through the firmament, and it's gonna land right here. For everybody to be up, I'm sorry, it's gonna land over there, right? Between the Nile and the Euphrates. Nonetheless, I can't wait to see y'all all there. Y'all are my kingdom friends, my kingdom family, and I love every one of y'all. Thank you for joining us tonight, and much love to you all.